Welcome to the MC3 Executive Podcast. In this episode, we're exploring the alignment mapping system. Alignment is often treated as something leaders can feel but not clearly see. When projects are progressing, deadlines are being met, and teams appear engaged, it is easy to assume that alignment exists. Yet alignment is not simply the absence of problems. It is the presence of shared understanding. The alignment mapping system was designed to make emotional coherence visible. It helps leaders understand how meaning travels through an organization, where interpretation remains consistent, and where the first signs of divergence are beginning to emerge. Many leaders only recognize misalignment when a delay occurs, a conflict surfaces, or a crisis develops. By that stage, the underlying causes have often been present for weeks or months. Alignment mapping focuses on the earlier signals. It allows leaders to identify emotional movement before it becomes operational disruption. Every organization possesses what might be called an emotional geometry. Some organizations move as a single, connected system. Others operate more like separate entities sharing the same logo. Under pressure, these differences become easier to observe. Some teams interpret urgency consistently, while others respond very differently to the same message. Some regions escalate concerns early, while others wait until uncertainty becomes impossible to ignore. The alignment mapping system focuses on 4 dimensions: tone, urgency, escalation, and behavior. Together, these dimensions reveal the shape of organizational alignment. When all 4 remain consistent, the organization behaves predictably. When one begins to drift, the shape starts to distort and coherence becomes harder to maintain. One of the most valuable shifts created by alignment mapping is moving attention away from events and towards patterns. Events are late indicators. Patterns appear much earlier. For example, why does one region become more cautious after leadership updates while another becomes more reactive? Why do some teams repeatedly seek clarification while others act quickly with incomplete information? Why does silence signal reflection in one part of the organization and uncertainty in another? These questions reveal the emotional flows that exist beneath operational activity. They help leaders see the organization not as a collection of departments, but as a network of interpretations. In practice, alignment mapping begins by identifying where messages land cleanly. These areas form what can be thought of as the coherent core. Tone is understood as intended, urgency remains stable, escalation follows predictable patterns, and behavior reflects leadership intent. Leaders then look for areas where meaning begins to flicker. Questions increase. Hesitation appears. Interpretations start to vary. These become the shifting zones. Finally, attention turns to the fragile edges, the places where drift repeatedly appears and emotional friction accumulates. These are often the areas where future problems first become visible. One common leadership mistake is confusing compliance with alignment. Teams may follow instructions perfectly while operating from completely different assumptions. Alignment mapping focuses not on whether people are complying, but on how they are interpreting. Are teams acting from clarity or assumption? Are they responding from confidence or caution? Are they aligned with intent or reacting to pressure? These questions reveal the emotional truth beneath visible behavior. One of the greatest advantages of alignment mapping is early detection. Leaders begin noticing subtle changes long before performance indicators reveal a problem. A confident team suddenly seeks more reassurance. Escalation patterns change. Meetings feel heavier. Progress continues, but conviction weakens. These signals are easy to dismiss individually. Viewed together, they create a map of organizational coherence. One executive described this transformation perfectly when he said, "I stopped managing actions and started managing atmosphere." That shift captures the essence of alignment mapping. Leadership becomes less about reacting to outcomes and more about understanding the conditions that create those outcomes. Consider a leadership update regarding a product delay. One region becomes cautious. Another becomes reactive. A third responds diplomatically but slows down. The operational message was identical, yet 3 different emotional realities emerged. The alignment map reveals the divergence before it becomes behavioral separation. leaders can then recalibrate by clarifying not only the message itself, but also its intended meaning and expected response. When this happens, pace becomes synchronized, interpretation becomes consistent, and alignment is restored. Without alignment mapping, organizations often operate blind to emotional movement. Meaning distorts without warning, urgency becomes uneven, and leaders find themselves constantly correcting outcomes instead of shaping causes. With alignment mapping, leaders gain visibility. They learn to see the emotional architecture that sits beneath performance. They recognize drift earlier, intervene sooner, and create stronger organizational coherence. This week, consider your own organization. Where is meaning landing consistently? Where are interpretations beginning to diverge? And what patterns might already be revealing the first signs of drift? Because alignment is never invisible. The signals are always there. The challenge is learning how to see them. Thank you for listening to the MC3 Executive Podcast.